Good morning, Breakfast Club family. This is Mark Stevens, your host, Joe Shue. Welcome to the Breakfast Club. Today is February the 11th, 2015. Hope you had a great day yesterday. Hope you'll have a great day today. Got a few things to go over. Joe will be joining us in a little while. Right now, he's working with Anson as far as getting our information up correctly so that you'll be able to have use of it in the proper way. So we'll get back to that in a little bit. But in the meantime, I've been doing some studying, and I want to share something with you. I've shared it with you before, but for the newer people that we have, and for all of us, it's something that's very important, because you hear me always keep saying that this presentation, the importance of it and how it affects everybody, everywhere, every situation. And you've heard me talk about the banks, and that's basically what I'm going to be talking about here for a little bit until Joe gets back in. A few weeks ago, the G20 nations met, and what they did was they officially gave what I call the bail-in model used by banks, like in Cyprus back in 2013, and now they have given these countries the thumbs up. Now, I've been talking about paper, and I've been talking about banks. You've heard me say on a number of occasions that I don't keep any money in the bank, at the most $50. Or if I have to pay a bill, if I have one to pay, then I'll put that money in the bank, and then it comes out basically the same day based on the way that I pay it. Because what's happened is that you have now become creditors to the bank. When you put your money in the bank, you no longer own it or control it per se. And in case you missed it, the G20 nations, they met in Brisbane. And what they did was that they rubber stamped a piece of policy, and I call it the day that money died. Yes, the day that money died. Because, see, in any case, your deposits, if you have deposits in the bank, the day that they approve that, and they put it in effect in all these countries, your money, what you had in the bank, died as money. Now, unlike coins and paper bills, which not, they can't be written down or given a haircut, if you will, because now deposits are just part of the commercial bank's capital structure. When you put your money in the bank, it becomes a part of the bank's capital structure. So, Mark, what does that mean? You got these words. Well, what does it mean? Well, what it means is this: is that now you can be bailed in, or your money can be confiscated to save the mega banks from derivative bets going wrong. Now, you've heard me say this, that the banks pay you 1% or less on passbook savings and whatever they pay on certificate of deposits. Yet they make 20, 30, 40% overnight trading derivatives, which they have a lot of risk to them. Now, before, when we had the banking crisis, and your government, my government, what did they do? They bailed them out with what? Yours and my tax money. They bailed out the banks. They didn't bail us out in the housing crisis. They bailed out the banks. They always bail out the banks. Until now, they're kind of trying to make a change or whatever, but no. So they bailed out the banks, and they bailed you in. And what I mean by that, bail in is a term they're even using now. And what it's done, it has been sold as avoiding future government bailouts. That's what it's been sold as. And eliminating too big to fail banks. That's what they call them, too big to fail banks. JP Morgan Chase, one of the biggest banks. UBS, one of the biggest banks. All these banks, you know, they said they were too big to fail during the banking crisis and everything, so they bailed them out. But now they say they don't want to do that anymore, so they bail us in. So when we put our money in the bank owns our money, and yet we become creditors to them, which means this. Previously, we'd seen individual organizations like the IMF, International Monetary Fund, say that places like Cyprus, for example, their bail-in model was a good one. So that's a good thing. But now it appears that all the world leaders agreed to this. They give banks the carte blanche to come for your deposits. That's what has happened. And I'm ticked off, tell you the truth. I like to use another word, but I don't talk like that. But I am ticked off. And you should be ticked off. And you should stand up and take heed and listen to what I'm saying. And what I'm saying to you, because I love you and you're my family, get your money out of the bank. Only keep enough in there because of the system that we have been brought under for years and years and years. Just keep enough in there to take care of necessary stuff, but make sure it goes in today and out tomorrow or the next day. Because if not, when these banks go bust again, and they are going bust again, you won't be getting your money. I'm telling you now. You have to get in line, and guess who's in line first? The banks, the other people, not you, not me. So the most they're going to get from me is maybe $50, maybe. So now, what does that mean to you and me? Your savings, your retirement, and all your money in the bank is at risk now. So I suggest that you take heed and do something about it. I read the paper, like I say, I read my paper from beginning to end every morning. And this morning I read that, and I told you weeks ago that it was approved in legislation now that some pension plans can cut back on benefits. Now, what did I say yesterday? What did I tell you about the 40-40 plan? Told you go to school, and then you get a job, and you work 40 years, and they say you're going to get this retirement plan, and the baby boomers are struggling. They can't make it now. So the 40-40 plan never doesn't work, never will work, never could work. But that's what we were all brought under. So now we got this thing. A lot of people's benefits are going to be cut, and some pension plans are going to close altogether. But yet you put your money in, you paid your money in, you're supposed to be able to get it out and more. But it ain't working. You know why it ain't working? Because they always lie. They always lie to us. They feed us a bunch of stuff. And if you don't do anything about it, you can't blame anyone. Because you can't say that you don't know. We got a presentation that shows you everything. We show you everything in that presentation. That's why I say you need to look at it every day. Listen to it and go through it every day. Break it apart, break it down, and understand what it means. Because if not, and people ask you, you're not going to know what to be able to tell them and everything. And we have the answer. We have the product. We have the company. We have the service. We have the communication. We have everything. Once we get all this other stuff straight through Tools Rock and get it in there right, that's what we got going on right now. So we're working on that because we said you would probably have it this morning or at latest tomorrow. So I guess it's going to probably be tomorrow because I looked at it and it's right, but the type is too big. We don't want you to have to scroll. We don't want the people to see it to have to scroll to put anything in. And I mean, it was like 5 times larger than what the type was 5 times larger than what we looked at the markup yesterday. So whoever did what they did, whoever coded it, whoever wrote the code, they wrote it wrong because the type is too big. So that's what we're dealing with today. But again, we need to understand what's going on with our banking system. It's always been a system that kept their foot on our neck. What y'all need to know, and I guess I might as well talk about this a little bit. Banks create money out of thin air. And I'm going to give you an example. When you go to the bank to get a loan, or those of you that own homes, when you went to the bank to get a mortgage or wherever you got it, didn't have to necessarily be a bank, but they run through banks and financial institutions like that. Was any money ever put in your hands? Was any paper other than all the papers that you have you signed, and you don't, most of them you don't know what you're signing or what it means, but you signed it anyway because you were so glad to get a house that you don't own until it's paid off. The bank owns it. Because guess what? Miss 3 mortgage payments and see what happens. Well, we went through it in 2007, 2008, so y'all know what happened. Well, guess what? All they do is they put a digital entry and they start charging you all this interest on what? Something they created out of thin air, and then the next day they go and do the same thing with somebody else with the money that you signed for to pay all this interest to them. Now, what kind of sense does that make? Doesn't make any sense at all. But we have been hoodwinked and put under this system for hundreds of years, and we're still under the same system. So I know it's tough, but I'm going to say it. And I'm in the same boat because I have a mortgage too. But you know what? You need to pay cash for your house. You need to pay cash for your car. You need to pay cash for everything if you can. Because guess what? Credit cards is the same thing. It's just on plastic. But it's created out of thin air. Digital entry, and you pay all this interest. That's why you end up paying 3 to 4 times for that house before you own it, based on the interest rate that you get. It's criminal. It's criminal. I can't stand those institutions. It's not necessarily the people, most of the people, because they don't know what the heck's going on either. All they know, they're getting paid $12 an hour to rip you off. And they don't even know that they're ripping you off because they don't understand. All they know is, I got a job, I work for the bank. When you come in, hi, Mr. Shadow, it's good to see you today. What can we do for you today? Okay, we'll take this deposit. Oh, you need a loan? Go over, you see the bank manager, he'll give you a loan, and he'll rip you a new one, and we'll thank you when you come back and smile in your face again. That's what happened. Well, guess what? Now, I'm going to war. I can't stand banks, don't like banks, and I'm going to be one that's going to be fighting against the banks. I'm going to tell everybody that I meet and that I know what's going on in the banks, and that they need an account to protect the account that they have, if they can do that. They might not can do that, but they can start putting it in this account where they is protected, where they can control it. That's what we need to be doing. If you care about your family, if you care about your loved ones, your friends, people that you meet, you have to tell them this. I'm getting riled up here now because it makes me angry because we're getting ripped off. Now, I pull up my account, I've got $60 in there. That's $10 too much. So I'm going to take my $10 out. Maybe go buy me a lunch or something or whatever. But I do not keep more than $50 in the bank at any time. I'll keep it under my mattress if I have to, like they used to do, like our parents used to do. They used to keep it in the mattress, and then what little they had, they used to keep it down in their dress, in their bras and everything like that. And there's nothing wrong with me saying that, because that's what our parents used to do. I used to see my aunts and grandma and them pull money out of their bra. I'm like, what? It's almost like it was magic. They pull it out. Well, guess what? Maybe you need to start putting it back in. But whatever you do, don't put it in the bank, or put very little of it in the bank. Now, it's war, and they are warring against us. They are taking advantage of us. They are taking our money. They're investing it overnight in derivatives. They're earning 30 and 40%. And that's why the banks, the biggest buildings in town, I want y'all to check this. The biggest buildings in town in any city are the banks. If you don't believe me, go walk down your financial district and even in your neighborhoods and look at the biggest buildings. On top, you got a big sign that says the name of the bank, because the bank probably owns the building. That's what's happening. And they've been doing it with our money. Now, I'll say this, and I know why. My heart goes out to their family, but they never should have been doing it in the first place. 2 more bankers got killed yesterday, or within the last week. Bankers are dying like flies. They're getting killed. They're getting pushed. They're jumping. They're committing. Yeah, they're committing suicide. Some of them are, because they're now starting to get caught and they can't face the music. See, what goes around comes around. You can call it karma. You can call it universal law. You can call it whatever you want. But when you do something bad to people, it usually comes back at you worse than what you did. And that's why I try to be good to everybody. I do it because I love everybody. Don't care what color. Don't care. Guess what? You cut us all, we all gonna bleed red. Doesn't matter. We might speak differently, we might look differently, but we are the human race. Not the black race, green race, pink race, yellow race. We are the human race. So, we have hearts, we have organs, we have brains. We need to use them. We need to use our hearts to love each other. We need to use our brains to teach each other. That's what it's about. And until these chumps till they learn how to understand this, we're going to keep getting the same thing. And guess what? If you keep doing what you're doing, you're going to keep getting what you're getting. And it's probably not good. But we can change. Change is inevitable. With no change, there's no progress. We want to be the progressive people to bring about change, to teach change, and to show change, and to change. If you don't change, you're not going to progress. Keep doing what you're doing, you keep getting what you get. So, 7 minutes before the bottom of the hour, this was not my intention this morning. As a matter of fact, I was going to save this for talking points on another day, but when we found out that we weren't going to be able to show you what we wanted to show you this morning and tell you what we wanted to tell you, then this brought me to here. I said I might as well take it out on somebody, so I decided to take it out on the banks. So,
hey, Mark.
Yes, Joe.
All right, let me give you a little update, and then I got to get back to this. They've made some changes yet, but it's still not perfect. They are working on it right now, even though it's pretty late there. They are working on it and reducing sizes and so on and getting the code correctly. So although it may appear live on people's ends, don't use it that way. It may be live, but well, it's not the end of the world. It's just like Mark said, it's too large, the writing, and they're working on it right now to fix that so that it looks like the mock-up. I can show the mock-up right now, what it's supposed to look like and what it does look like and what it's going to look like. So I don't know that we need to do that really, but if you do go to your site and it looks that way, that is not the final version, and they turned it on live, and I don't know, I guess to check it or whatever, but just simply they're working on it now. I'm working with them right now to get a couple of these corrections. Although when it's done, I've showed this to a few people yesterday, and it's really, really, really nice if they just get the coding right now. And I guess that's, just that it's stuff they do. I don't know anything about coding, so I don't know how you code stuff and check and double check and so on. But if they get it the way it's supposed to be, it's going to be beautiful. Or when they do, they'll get it. He said they're working on it until they get it done tonight. And but right now, just hang in there. It'll be done shortly. So within the next hour or two, it should be, and I'll be in touch with them the whole time. So that's what I'm doing right now.
Okay. Well, we'll get it right, and we'll be happy with it.
All right. I'm going to go back to them now.
Okay.
All right.
So, family, think about this. Think about people's pensions. They're getting ready to get robbed. Think about people's money in the bank. They're getting ready to get it taken from them. Think about people's retirements. They're getting ready to be messed with. Think about people's future. They're still going to be given the wrong information. But mostly think about this, what we can do to help prevent some of this. We might not be able to get to everybody and help everybody, but if we can get to somebody who can help somebody and somebody help somebody else, then guess what? They can be an extension of us, and we can help a lot of people before they get hurt. That's my plea to you today. Let's go to work. Let's share this presentation. Let's, save as many people's retirement and their money in the bank as we can by giving them the information. And if we give them the information and they don't believe it and they don't do anything about it, then that's on them. But wouldn't you feel better that at least you discharge your duty, that, as much as given, much is required, and you shared it with them to try to help them? That's the way I would feel, and that's the way I do feel. Once I tell you and give you the information, if you don't do anything with it, it's no longer on me. I've discharged my duty. It's on you. So, again, banks are not my favorite people. Governments are not my favorite people because, well, I'm not going down that rabbit hole. I will go down that rabbit hole one day, though. So don't worry about that. I'll let you know what I'm talking about. But it's over the entire world. But I'll just leave that at that because I'm so wound up now. And I don't know. I may go downtown and get me a soapbox. No, I better not do that because I might not be a member of the Breakfast Club anymore. So I got to be careful where I say and what I say when I say it. But I'm going to say it because it can save a lot of people. And it might be worth it. So with that being said, family, peace and blessings to you. Those of you that haven't listened to the presentation today, and see if you can see in there what I'm talking about and how it can help people. Before I go, though, I will let me check the chat box. Let's see. Okay, some people are having some challenges getting in, I guess. Now, okay, I see Chrome and this and that. Let me address that there. This is what Joe is working with them on now. In Firefox, the presentation continually runs on. It starts over and starts over. We have them working on that. We don't want it to do that. In Chrome, it doesn't do that. It stops where we want it to stop, and it does what we want it to do. So those are the different things that are happening right now. We're addressing all of those things, and I pray that it will be done and that tomorrow we can say, okay, we went through a little crisis, but we got it done. They've got it done, and the people that are working on this are over in the Philippines, and their time is 13 hours different than ours. In other words, if it's 11:30 here, it's about 1:30 where they are in the morning. So I'm talking about 11:30 Eastern time here where I am in Virginia. It's like 12:30, 1:30 over there in the Philippines, in the morning, that is. So we have to catch them before they get off. They usually don't go to work until 12 o'clock in the day, at least the programmers that Tools Rock is using, which we don't control. We don't control any of that. So let me see here. Okay, I think I pretty much addressed everything in here. Unless anybody got a question that they want to ask before we close out. But go out and make it a great day. Peace and blessings to you. Find somebody, touch somebody, reach out and touch them and You know, tell them you got something, you got a story to share with them that affects their life. They need to know about this. You know, change a life, help change a career, a family's plight. You know, a county's, a city, a state's plight. You know, and again, we want to, because if we do that and we do it together, we can pull together and change the world's plight.
Hey, Mark, I'm going to jump back in again.
Great.
All right, so let me just talk about a couple things here. One is, let me suggest that I've been helping people one-on-one do something. We can do it right now and help you with something. Let me explain. If you have already started a campaign in Tools Rock and you have leads maybe from the USA Lead Club, or you have put leads into your autoresponder and it is currently sending the business presentation to them, not the friends and family one, but the business presentation. We are starting the campaigns over on everything that we put out there, mainly because the front page has changed. We're not that far into the campaign, 3-4 letters. So it doesn't matter if you start them over and they get those letters again. We want them to get them every couple days anyway. So that isn't an issue. The issue is two things. One, that front page and the opt-in page, those things are different now. Number two, the autoresponder letters. There are 2 sets of letters now for the business presentation. 2 sets. They are identical other than the first 2 letters. The first letter, let's assume that you have been sending out the letters and you copied the series from the instructions in the training room. If you did that a week ago, then people are getting a letter. The first 2 letters may not be the same. So without explaining all that, here are the instructions to change it. It's not a big, first of all, we're stopping those campaigns. We're going to start them up in a day or 2. Maybe tonight or tomorrow, probably today. So here's how you do it. Write this down, or you can go back over this recording. But write it down. I suggest you write it down. The first thing you'll want to do is stop or edit, or let me give you a better word, delete the autoresponder. So here's what you would do. You would go to your back office, Tools Rock. You would click on autoresponders, and then you would click on delete. You'll get a notice probably that this will stop your campaigns. Obviously, there won't be an autoresponder there. And then it'll ask you, which one do you want to delete? There's a drop-down window. If you have labeled it like we asked you to, it should say AdTech, Biz or BUS, Pres, P-R-E, meaning business presentation, invite. That's what it should say. If you labeled it cold market or whatever you labeled it to put those leads in, that'll be on you. You are the one who chose the name. We suggested a name, whatever you chose. You click the one on that is currently sending those emails. And then you click delete and follow the instructions all the way to the end until it says you're finally deleted. That means you now only have one autoresponder in there, and that's the one from friends and family. The next thing that you'll want to do is go back to your contacts. You do that by going Contacts, Quick View. Contacts, Quick View. That's the first option on the drop-down. You'll click that on. What you see when you do that are all the leads, all the contacts that you have in your system. They're all bunched together. A total. Let's say you had 1,000 in there. You might have some from friends and family. You might have some from the cold market. They will all be bunched together, and that's where you can look and do a search individually and see what's going on with a certain person. However, on that same page, along the top, there will be 4 large boxes. One of them says Category Search. You click on the options or the arrow, and you will then see what category you created for those contacts. You're looking for the leads that you put in. Let's assume that you called it USA Leads. I don't know what you called it. I have no idea what individually people did. We made suggestions for categories. So whatever you did, and those leads you put in there, whatever category you put in, you select that and click View It. Just view. When you do that, you will be back to the quick view with only the ones you selected. So again, if you had 1,000 in there and 800 of them were from one of your lead companies or USA or whatever it was, that's all you will see. The other 200 will be hidden. In other words, if you had 200 in friends and family, then you won't see those at that point. So be careful when you select the category. So once you select the category and you see all those leads there, make sure you have a copy of those leads either through the back office of, again, USA, or you have them on a spreadsheet somewhere, because you're going to delete those leads. And I'll explain why in a minute after I explain how to delete them. So you will take those contacts and click Select All. When you select them all, it's going to ask you, are you sure you want to delete these 800 or whatever number it is? And you're going to say yes, and you're going to follow the process and delete all those. They'll come out of your contacts. They will no longer be visible. It'll tell you that it'll give you a warning and say you're going to delete them. You better have a way of getting them back. And that's what it'll do. So you'll delete them. So now you've started over fresh. The next step is to go to the training room and go to the instructions to create the autoresponders. So you will go in at this point. This is very critical, what I'm about to tell you now. Those 2 steps are pretty easy. You have no autoresponder, and you don't have a cold market category. They're gone. When you go to the training room, you will scroll down to AdTech/Tools Rock Marketing, and you will slide down now to Create Autoresponders. There are 3 sets of instructions. The first one, autoresponder number 1, is friends and family. You have already created that. You don't need that one any longer. You don't need to recreate that one. Autoresponder number 2. Now here's where the difference is. Autoresponder number 2 is for leads that you did not purchase from USA Leads or any company that provided you a survey with those leads. In other words, it never asked those people any questions. It just said maybe you bought them and you had leads that were from a company that gave you the date and time stamped and all that stuff, but it never said there was a survey where they asked those people any questions like, do you have $100, or can you get started in 30 days, and do you have a credit card? Those questions, if you have leads that were not surveyed, that is what that autoresponder is for. The first 2 letters say, we would like to speak with you about managing a business from home with our company. The rest of the email is the same as autoresponder number 3. So the only difference are the first 2 letters. The first autoresponder number 2, or which is for leads that are not surveyed, say, we would like to speak with you, etc. The next autoresponder, number 3, are for leads that people did fill out a survey, which means they were asked questions like the USA Lead Club. And the first line in that one is different than we'd like to speak with you. It says you've identified yourself as someone who was interested in managing a business from home. Now, you can select either one, and there's no right or wrong way, but if you send an email through autoresponder number 3 and tell people that they've identified themselves when yet they haven't, I would be careful in sending that. So now that you have no cold market autoresponder set up, you must select one of those two. It will be up to you to decide which one you will have in your system. I suggest, if you had the surveyed leads and you're going to continue with USA Lead where they were asked questions, then you select autoresponder number 3 that says you identified yourself as someone who, wanted to manage a business from home, etc. If not, and it wouldn't be any problem if you selected number 2. There's no mistake here, and that would just say, we'd like to speak with you about managing a business from home with our company. We just created that due to, one of our people, Gunter, who created the, you identified yourself as someone who. And so we selected that as well. It gives you an option to use those. So at this stage, what you will do, once you're in that training room, the reason you need to go there is to get the codes. There are different codes for both of those autoresponders. I believe they're 2043 and 2198. I believe that's what it is, but there's also passwords there. So you need to copy them down, put them aside, and go back to your Tools Rock Contact Manager or your home page, and you're going to, up at the top of each page, it's going to say, Tools Autoresponder New, N-E-W. Tools Autoresponder New. And there, you click on New. It's going to ask you what you're going to call your new autoresponder, and you are going to call it, if you choose, AdTech Biz Prez Invite number 1 or number 2, whichever one you selected. That's what you're going to call it. In the next line, it's an opt-out name, and you must put something in there. So just copy what you just wrote above it and put it in there. The next step is to go to the bottom of that page. There are 2 options. One is to put some information in there about an autoresponder. It'll ask you for a drop-down window. Do not do that. The next suggestion or selection is copy another autoresponder. And that's the one where you're going to put the number 2043 or 2198, whichever one you choose. And you will put the passwords in there. The password is AdTech for one and AdTech and then the number 2 for the other. And once you do that and push the button, you will now have the invite letters that are in our back office. That's how they get there. You've copied that series, and they're there, and you can now go back to Tools Autoresponder View, V-I-E-W, and go look at the letters. So, Mark, if there are any questions, that's the process. My suggestion is you delete the contacts, you delete the autoresponders, and start the campaign over again with the correct autoresponder letters. So in order to bring them in, let's assume that you have a spreadsheet or the USA Lead Club. You just go in and import them all over again. It's not a big deal. Once you put them in, the autoresponder will start. However, I would wait until you get a signal from us to say that the site is working properly. That should be today. Anson is telling me that it will be today. They are now, even though it is 1 o'clock or plus in the morning there, the one guy is there working on to get this correct. And I am in communication with Anson and to them over there to make sure that they're getting this typeset correctly. And so that's all I can tell you. That's what we have. I would suggest you stop those autoresponders and start over. It'll give you some practice anyway. The only harm done here is people will get 4 extra letters in their campaign. That's no big deal. Most people get more than 10 anyway, so I would have no problem. We have had no problem. We've deleted ours. We've stopped our autoresponders. We've changed the names. We've changed the letters, and we're ready to go. So I would say I apologize for all this, so I will. However, this is what it takes to get this kind of stuff set up. So as frustrated as you might be, some of you, I am twice as frustrated when I don't get it right, because I like things right and quickly. But we're dealing in the real world, and things happen, and communication things happen, and, you know, we don't always, you know, get what we want in life. And we do have it. It is beautiful. For those I've showed the mock-ups to what we're looking at, everyone is excited. It's just that it hasn't translated to the real thing yet. So we just have to be patient, which is one of my difficulties. I'm not patient with things like this. And although I'm thankful that it's there, and I just have to realize that, you know, people are people and they do what they do. We just have to do our jobs better. This is a perfect example, Mark, though, of getting your business right. And we can translate that to us. This is why it's important to understand communication. To your message, to your prospect, verbally, has to be correct, or they're going to get mix-up in what you're trying to say. And that's why it's important for learning scripts and learning dialogue. That's why Mark says go over the presentation, learn what to say. Go over the scripts, learn how to answer the question, so when someone asks you, you communicate what you know properly. It's probably the hardest thing that's ever been done in human history is communicate. To tell someone what's in your mind and have them see exactly what's there. Because perception is the thing that messes it all up. So that's why it's important, very important, to do this. I was going to talk tomorrow, I was going to do it today, Mark, in a subject called copycat marketing. It is it's actually a book I have that I've studied for years, and it's actually called How to Copycat Your Way to Wealth. That's what we're doing here. The best way to learn something is to copycat. Copy it from someone. I could go over a whole history of the industry I was in prior to this many years ago and tell you that in Europe, they create the workers way better in that industry than they do in the United States, because they're not allowed to go to work until they've had a couple of year apprenticeship watching, observing, copying, in other words, memorizing what these people were doing. And here in the United States, we turned out a tremendous, well, I'll just say the industry, a tremendous amount of hair cutters who have no clue what they're doing, because they're not put in a position to copycat or copy. They go to school, they come out of school with the teachers who are not so much qualified, and they end up in your haircutting facility uneducated. Yeah, they got training, but in Europe, you don't even go to school. Well, at least they didn't used to. You go to an apprenticeship for a couple of years, and you're not even allowed to touch anybody. You just have to observe and be a cleanup person. And those who hang in for about 3 or 4 years, they get to be hair cutters. That's why Europe turns out better hair cutters than the U.S., generally. Because they're copying all the time. They're observing, they're memorizing, they're studying, and they weed out the people who can't tolerate it because they want to get to work right away. But this is something we'll go over tomorrow, Mark. It's an amazing, amazing book. It's a tiny little book, but it's extremely important to understand, and it's amazing that you compare to what we're doing here. It'll tell you the importance of getting it right. And so let's, on our end, do what we can to be right. Let's make sure we understand how to present ourselves, how to take the information, put it in someone else's mind, and have them see what we see. Because if everybody saw what Mark Stevens sees, if everybody saw what Victor sees, If everyone saw what Paulette and Gunter and the rest of these people, they would understand. They would get it. Because people need us out there, is what they need. They don't need just to buy gold. They need to understand how to fix their lives. That 95% of them are out there in a financial world just getting by, if they are. And you have the answer to it. It's not just about saving the gold. It's about teaching them how to protect their future. And that may be with gold, and it should be. And Karatbars provides the perfect platform for that. So we have the best of both worlds, but it's our job to communicate our message properly. That's what we're doing here. We're an educational company trying to get the message not only from our minds, from our mouths into someone else's head. We're trying to get the picture right when they go look on the internet and they look at a piece of information. We want it to be professional. We want them to know that we're a group of professionals. We're not running around, just chasing people all over the place like ambulance chasers. We don't do that. We're trying to get them the information so they see it as we see it. A professional look that says, we want to give you the courtesy of giving you the information before we ask you any questions. We're under an expansion. We're a professional company. We're looking for more people. We're expanding. So look at our company overview, and when you're done, go ahead and tell us if you want an interview. We'll see if you're right for us. That's our message. If you don't like that message, you're in the wrong spot. You have to go out begging again, looking for people and chasing them all over the place like people have done for years, and it doesn't work. Not for everybody. The large groups of people, the people at the top are making a lot of money, a ton of money. Because it's always been in this industry, a lot of people doing a little. That's what it's always been. So are you that person? Or are you the one doing a little? And it's okay to do a little. It's where it starts. And it is about a lot of people doing a little, but doing it the right way. And that's what we're trying to instill. So that's where we are today, Mark. I'm still working with them, and it looks like they're still coding over there and changing some things. So I should know sometime today, and just keep working on it. And I would assume, again, by the morning, no later than that, we should see this completely in shape. Hopefully it'll be today, though. But they have made tremendous progress. The coding is all done. They just are changing sizes and so on in the coding to match what they actually showed us in the mock-up. So that's where we are. So thank you for listening, and have a great day, everybody. We'll get back to you. I'll send a notice the minute this is done. But don't go trying to understand what's going on back there if you're in that back and looking at it and so on. Don't look at it, criticize, do whatever. Just leave it alone. Let it go until we tell you, okay, here's what we intended. So, have a great day. Back to you, partner. Can't hear you. Can I hear you?
He's muted.
I'm sorry, I forgot to unmute myself. We'll just take a couple of more minutes. I want to say a couple of things. First of all, thank you, Paulette, for the messages. Very familiar, and that's one of my plans. A little more down the road, I want to talk about people being their own banker. The other thing is that just remember, and again, I'm referring back to the presentation. Our society is we live in a debt-based society, and I've also told you that words have thoughts and meanings, and the word debt to me simply means delivering everyone bad terms. D-E-B-T, debt. Delivering everyone bad terms. And when you have that done to you, you're not in such good shape. But we can beat that. We can rise above that. And that's what we're trying to get out to the public, to get them on the right track and to get them out of debt and get them where they are building their assets rather than having their assets ripped from them. So we all have a place in that. So with that being said, Peace and blessings to you. Love you all. Go out and make it a great day. This is Mark Stevens for our host, Joe Shoup. Say we will see you back here tomorrow morning on the Breakfast Club. Go out and make it a great day, everybody.